Yes, hello, Mr. Browell. How are we doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm nice to hear from you. I mean, I'm glad that you stuck to an appointment. So I was thinking, oh, shall I have to ring the guy up? So I'm glad that you called me up. I'm doing fine. How are you doing? It's a lovely day outside. The sun's coming out.
It is. Yes, it's a nice day. Nice the weather's getting.
Hello?
Power on.
Hello? Just hold on a second. I'm having some problems. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Just hold on 1 second. Hello? I've just pressed something. Can you give me a call back? Hello? I'm having some problems. If you can hear me, please can you try ringing me back? Because I can't hear you. Mr. Browell, can you try ringing me back? Because I'm having some problems at this end.
Power on.
Hello? Let me see if he rings back.
Incoming call. Incoming call.
Yes, hello? Hello?
Hello, is that any better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think there's some problem at my end. No problem. I can hear you now.
Okay. How's things? Everything all right?
Yep.
Has there been any change on the housing situation or?
Well, you tell me. I mean, where first of all, where did we leave things last time? If you can just remind me.
What's that? Sorry.
I said if you can just remind me where we left things last time.
Let me just have a look. Let me just check the notes again. I just need to load the notes.
Okay. So while you're loading up the notes, I'll just give you an update on the housing situation. They were trying to rehouse us to a two-bedroom house.
Okay.
But then I said, show me which two-bedroom house, and they're negated on the offer now.
Right. Why is that?
They're saying that they didn't. The one that they had in mind didn't have a downstairs toilet.
Right.
So you mentioned last time. I just wanted to pick up on the fact that you said he's got a house in Thornbury and stuff. Yeah. First of all, like there's complications with that house, but like if the housing association are not willing to house him without a downstairs toilet, that property is not appropriate because it does not have a downstairs toilet as well.
Well, does Talib need a downstairs toilet?
Well, of course he does. Yes, mainly what he needs is a shower room. All right. He needs a wet room. That's his main criteria because, as you know, he suffers from grave incontinence, and then obviously as a consequence of suffering from grave incontinence, he has overflow, and he can many a times it's been horrific for me to deal with if there was no shower facility, easily accessible shower facility. And yes, of course he needs a downstairs. I mean, I'm just surprised at this stage. You're asking me this question that does he need a downstairs toilet?
See, I've never met him. I've been able to meet him.
So you've read his notes though.
Yeah.
And
it's difficult. There's a lot of notes there. So,
yeah. Look, I understand. Anyway, can we just pick up? So just to answer your question regarding the housing situation, it's still an ongoing matter. Yeah. All right. And obviously, I've asked you as a member of the council to write a recommendation letter. I know his previous social worker. You can speak to her. His previous social worker was someone called Zaida Azam. All right.
Okay.
And Zaida Azam, obviously, I worked with her back in 2004. And she obviously she works for the council, and she wrote a recommendation letter to the Manningham Housing Association. So all I'm looking to do is get another recommendation letter. All you need to do is you're his care coordinator. You feel that where he's living is an appropriate place for him, and you support his application for tenancy here. That's a simple letter. Are you the council prepared to write such a letter?
Again, I'd have to clear it with my manager, Shazad, but you know, it's not really. It's up to Manningham Housing. You know, I think. Would you be prepared to move if they found somewhere with like downstairs bathroom or anything? Would that be a compromise that would work?
Just hold on a second. I mean, you're saying it's up to Manningham Housing. I've just explained to you that in the past, Manningham Housing, as far as you know, like there's what's actually happening and what the reality is, that Manningham Housing are just simply taking instructions from you, the council, malevolently. They shouldn't be doing so.
No,
all right.
Not to my knowledge.
I know.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Not to your knowledge. I understand. But the same setup that we've got with you is the same setup we've got there. Because ideally, you know, Talib is on the City Mental Health thing, which is the NHS, which is the Bradford District Care Trust. But as you and I know, Bradford District Care Trust follow instructions from the council, particularly the fact that they've got numerous people, such as yourself, seconded into the organisation and into the District Care Trust, and that team is called the City Mental Health Team. That team is having an undue influence where the priorities of the council are overriding the priorities of the NHS Care Trust. Now, obviously, that's a setup that's on the surface of it. It seems that you're a healthcare worker working for the NHS. But the reality is that you're actually a council employee working for the NHS. And so, you know, this muddying of the clear lines of differentiation is what's happening in other organisations through my own experience, such as GPs, such as particularly Manningham Housing Association. Because Manningham Housing Association would never have considered taking legal action against me and my brother if it wasn't for the undue influence of the council. Now, the reason I'm asking you the question as a council employee is that are you and Talib's care coordinator, that are you willing to write this statement? And the answer obviously is it causes a conflict, because such a letter formally would place the Manningham Housing Association in a difficult position, because informally, off the records, the council is telling them to kick us out. So, you know, obviously, they have to follow whatever the council is telling them. And quite clearly, they don't have an issue, because, you know, as far as they're concerned, it makes no difference as long as they get paid, doesn't it? It is an issue for the council to get this house, and even now you're proposing, asking me a question regarding the housing, because obviously your senior managers are asking me this question now. To answer your question, of course I will look. My position is and always has been the same. I will always look to take any offer seriously. All right?
Okay.
So any offer that's made, I will look to take seriously. Now, obviously, in accordance with that policy, I've told the council, I sent an email to the solicitors, the Housing Association solicitors yesterday, saying, look, okay, you've given us a deadline, I would like to go see this property, and then they've withdrawn their offer saying we don't have anything suitable.
Did they say they're going to try and find somewhere suitable?
Well, I said I want a meeting with them, so that's something that we're going to do. But why would they want to find something suitable when we already have something suitable?
I don't know a lot about it, Shazad, but from my understanding, isn't there quite a few bedrooms there? So wouldn't they try to move?
No.
Transfer people to somewhere where there's less bedrooms.
But does my brother need a house with bedrooms in it? Look, this is a clear question that I need you and me to understand. Have a understanding on what are my brother's needs. Is it a house?
Right. Is what a house?
I said
you need somewhere to live. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not what my, because everybody, that's not. See, we need to get clarity on this. My brother already has a house. We have a house in Thornbury.
Okay.
So he doesn't need a house, does he?
No, but didn't you say didn't you say it's not habitable or something?
Yeah, it's not habitable, but that's still what I'm trying to say is my brother does not need a house. He needs a home. Do you understand the difference between a house and a home?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Manningham Housing Association provides houses. They don't provide homes. There's a distinction between a house is just four walls in it. It's just a property where is a residential property. All right. My brother does not need a residential property. He already has a residential property. One of the reasons that we moved into this place is because it was inappropriate for him to live there, overcrowding, not adapted. This is a house that meets his needs, but more than that, he needs a home. A home consists of more than just a house, doesn't it? Presently, his housing needs are being met and his home needs are being met. Because without a house, like my mother was in a house. You know, she was in a home with when I was there. You removed me, and she was just in a house, you know, getting shelter and fed. But you know, my people's needs are much more complex. So my brother needs a house. No, sorry, my brother needs a house, which is a home, and he needs a family. Can you understand the importance of a family?
I can, yes.
Yeah. What? Will you tell me what are the mental health benefits to having a family?
Yeah, I can't answer that question, Shazad, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay, but again, it's not, like I said, I don't have knowledge of this. You know, I'm aware that, you know, there's communication between yourselves with Manningham Housing. I can see if I can write a letter, but it's not really something that I would get involved in because it's really, they've got their own processes. And to my knowledge, the council aren't in communication with Manningham Housing.
I know.
They called me. I mean, I can be open and honest. They called me to ask whether Talib needs a downstairs toilet. And I said, he needs a wheelchair. So I would assume that he does require a downstairs toilet.
Okay, so can I just ask, when did they call you?
That was about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay.
2 weeks ago. Okay, so this is a very serious point here. So they contacted you 2-3 weeks ago, all right? And inquired from you. So what concerns me is that why is Manningham, under what legal framework has Manningham Housing contacted you?
Because he's care coordinator.
No, but how?
You want me to be open and honest, and then when I am transparent, then it just gets more complicated. I'm trying to say that, you know, I want to make sure that I give them the right information.
Okay.
That Talib's in a wheelchair, and that he needs a downstairs toilet. And I thought it was quite a positive thing that they're actually looking for somewhere that would be suitable for Talib.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And I'm really sorry to put you in that position. I know every time you're being open and transparent, I seem to be like coming down upon you. All right. And I understand. And I understand the frustration you're coming from. But you know, in the absence of you being open and transparent, you can give me no information, which is what the local authority are doing by leaving me with no information, and that is not also an acceptable situation. It may protect you personally. You don't have to give me this information. But eventually it comes out, it will come to light, wasn't it? Because as you know, I make subject access requests, I go to court, I want to find out this information, and then I'll be thinking, well, wait on a minute, you knew this and you didn't tell me this, all right? So it doesn't help build that trust now. So therefore, you know, I commend you on being open and transparent. But unfortunately, every time you are being open and transparent, you know, red flags are being highlighted to me. All right, you know, serious red flag. So when you're like, let me give you this example. All right, you've now just been open and honest with me, and you've been transparent, and you've said Manningham Housing Association have contacted you several weeks ago to inquire about Talib's needs. Now, unless you wrote to them, all right, they would have known about you. But for them to be proactive in contacting you or without Talib's permission to get information, that is like, legally you can't do that. So, you know, I'm just telling you what legally can happen without our permission. But then what's happened subsequently is that, you know, last week, I think it was on the 4th of May, they come back and they said to us, right, we got another property for you, and you need to give us a final decision by tomorrow, 11th of May. All right? So they've come back to me saying the fact that they've got they're gonna give us an alternative property, and then so what's happened is that, so they've contacted me, and I thought it was a bit short notice because they gave me a specific deadline, 4 p.m. on the 11th of May. You need to give the decision that you're gonna take up the offer for an alternative arrangements. All right, I've sent them an email yesterday saying, please can you make arrangements for us to view the alternative accommodation, because quite clearly I can't take up an offer if I can't see what the property is, all right? If it's suitable or not. They then sent me an email yesterday stating that, sorry, but we didn't know that he required a downstairs toilet, and therefore we're having to withdraw the offer. So can you understand, when you tell me that they knew several weeks ago that he required a downstairs toilet, and when on last week when they made an offer that I should, you know,
Hang on, let me check. Let me check exactly when they called. Maybe it wasn't as long as that. Just a second.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think it was the 5th of May.
5th of May. All right.
Yeah.
So I've just now, you told me several weeks ago, and now it's the 5th of May. I'm not sure when they made it.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't check the notes. So
Okay, all right.
Let me just check the notes.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So fair enough. All right. So now you've checked the notes, and the situation's changed now. All right, fair enough. But those notes that you have, I can't see. You see. So I've made a request for disclosure of his records, and you're not giving me that. But all right, let's just say it was the 5th of May or the 6th of May. Yeah. After let me see what date that was. So let me just see. What was the 5th of May? So the 5th or the 4th of May. Now then the next, see, that opens up another question. Why have they made an offer on the 4th or the 5th of May to me without first contacting, determining what his needs are? All right. So they've already made the offer on the 4th, I believe, on the 4th of May. Then subsequently they've contacted you, all right, saying that does he require a downstairs toilet? That's a bit asked to foot.
They wanted that confirming, that's all. They just wanted that confirmed.
Yeah.
It's quite reasonable of them, I think.
No, but I think they've had this matters. They've given us a notice on the 13th of April. So what could have happened is that they, first of all, this is what should have happened is that they should have asked, well, what, you know, we're looking to rehouse you, and we would like to know what his needs are. We would like your permission to contact the city mental health team. We would have given permission. They that would have then contacted you, and then you would have discussed that yes, he has, you know, he's disabled. I can verify that he requires a downstairs toilet, and then obviously they would have considered that well before making the offer. You see, it's a very disingenuous offer when they make an offer, giving me a 6-day workaround time, working day workaround time, and, you know, forcing us to accept something and then saying we're going to withdraw the offer. When I say, all right, let's view the house, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't have an appropriate property. Why did you even make an offer that when you knew it was inappropriate? Do you understand? It's just like asked to foot. But can you understand that that Manningham Housing are a social care landlord? What does a landlord care about? Is just the house is maintained, and they're getting money. They don't have an issue.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Well, let me explain to you. This is not the first time that this matter has arisen. I've gone to Manningham Housing back in July 2018, and they've told me, yes, look, we can't force you out of the house. All right, because obviously we might have, but this house we got, and I explained to you that the reason that we got this house was because of Talib, not because of my mum. My mum was simply on the housing list, so we work together. We're a family, you see. All right, so we just used her name, but ideally this house is adapted to my brother Talib. And what you'll notice that when my brother was initially sectioned under Section 3 of the Mental Health Act in 2004, 2005. That one of the conditions was when he was released into my care and custody back then, and the notes will dictate this, is that he needed suitable accommodation. So this house was accommodating for Talib's needs. And now all of a sudden you're saying you want to, move somewhere else, and because of an extra bedroom or stuff. I've explained, and
it's nothing to do. I've had no conversations. I'm not aware that anyone in the council is in conversations other than, I've spoken to Manningham Housing once or twice. They contacted me because they wanted to check that I was care coordinator. But other than that, there's everything. It's Manningham House's processes and procedures. So I don't think, as far as I'm aware, the council's got a strong opinion on that. It's a housing matter.
Okay. Well, let me correct you here. You said they've contacted you once or twice, and obviously they would have got your information from the council. So you personally may not. You may have one or two contact with them, but as far as Manningham Housing are concerned, they must have had several contacts with other people in the council, particularly the legal team or the social senior people, and so they would have then got your details. So how did they even get your details? So they must have had a previous contact with the council.
I don't know exactly, Shazad, but the thing is that, as I said, we're trying to just check on Talib's welfare, and as you won't let, check on his welfare.
No, that's not correct, though. No, that
just to make sure everything's okay.
With all due respect, you're putting words into my mouth and you're misleading. I've not so you're saying that I'm preventing you from having access to Talib. All right, is that your situation?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm not saying that. That's what I'm saying is that I've got responsibilities as care coordinator. That's all.
Okay, all right, but let me explain. Let me just clarify this we have a clear understanding. I am not preventing you. All right, two things are preventing your contact with Talib. Number one, Talib does not want to have contact with you. All right. He has a choice. Okay. He chooses not to have contact with you. It's quite clearly, and I asked you to look into the notes, that he's been verbally abusive to previous coordinators, Fungai Muchichitiri and Baljit Nota, when you came and visited him in Oldham. He has a right to say no. He has a right to refuse. So he's refusing you. All right. That's what's preventing contact. Second of all, what's preventing contact is for your insistent and persistent refusal to accept the fact that he's got a mental capacity and the mental capacity to legitimize a mental capacity report. So if you were to say to me today, look, this is what if you want to meet Talib, look, I'll show you the way today. All right. You put in writing to me that you fully accept and will not challenge the mental capacity report. All right, and you accept that he has mental capacity as per the legislation of assuming capacity and everything like that. So, as it stands, therefore you're legitimizing the mental capacity report, which I've spent a lot of money trying to put together of August 2018. Once you legitimize that, okay, then I understand that that's not going to be challenged, and you respect the fact that my brother has mental capacity. Then what I can do is that I can try to persuade my brother to come and to see you, but it won't be in the house. We can meet somewhere for a coffee or a drink or something. Do you understand? That's the best I can offer at this stage, but that will obviously be in a public place. All right, where Talib is reassured, and it will require a lot of my reassuring. Even then, it's down to Talib if he wants to see you. All I can promise is that I will try to persuade him just to satisfy you, because obviously I know the fact that if you choose to, you can take a heavy-handed approach and threaten us with the police action. And so obviously to avoid that, I'm trying to mitigate. You understand, I've got a very difficult job as well. I'm trying to balance my brother's rights and needs and his wishes against what you're saying you have a duty of care to. Now, if you're saying you have a duty of care to, you've not been fulfilling that duty of care. You can simply make a letter of recommendation saying, look, we support Talib to be rehoused even in his present place because it meets all his needs. You could do that. There's not a conflict of interest. But you can't do that because obviously the council is a conflict of interest, because even though the Manningham Housing Association is a separate organisation, the problem is that Manningham Housing, all they want is a money. You can understand, this as a landlord. The problem the council has is that the council, we're not the only people that they have a duty of care to. As you understand, the local authority has a housing problem. It has housing shortages. It has many people that need to be rehoused, many big families that need to be rehoused, many people coming from other countries, immigrants that need to be rehoused. All right, it is an injustice as far as the local authority is concerned for us to live in this house, and so it is in their interest for us to be rehoused. You got to understand whose beneficial interest is it if we get rehoused? Is it in the Manningham Housing's beneficial interest? They don't care. Their beneficial interest is we just want money. All right. And obviously, it's in they need their overriding objectives are to rehouse. They specialize in housing members of the BAM community, Black Asian minority with background with disabilities. My brother is that. He's a BAM member, Black Asian minority with healthcare issues. So they're meeting their government objectives because they get money from central government to meet social care needs as well, social housing needs. So they don't have an issue with us. It's you, the council, that would can't openly say that it's us, but would like to see us rehoused somewhere else. But wherever you look to rehouse us, it has to be appropriately adapted to meet Talib's needs. And quite clearly, the Housing Association have said, look, we can't presently accommodate rehousing you because we don't have anything appropriate. So, with all due respect, when you're saying that I'm preventing you from visiting Talib, this is not true. So please, can you refrain from wording in such a way where I look negative?
Okay,
Right?
I apologise.
Yeah.
Shazad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number two is that...
what I meant is I haven't been able to see
Yeah,
him. So.
and like I said, I'm having this conversation with you. I don't need to have a conversation with you. I would like I've made it quite clear that Talib has rights. I'm looking to ensure that those rights are protected in the background of the local authority persecuting and victimizing me. He still has rights, and you've accepted that, the person has, he has rights, he has the services. No, he's not receiving anything. He should have, and can you understand that in the absence of him receiving services, I'm having to fill that void? So obviously it's in my interest to ensure that Talib has all his rights met, so I don't have to fulfill those rights. Fill those needs. So that's why I'm talking to yourself, and I would obviously, you've made it clear to me that it's important for you as to see your client, and I'm looking to facilitate that. But will you also look to see the fact that there are things that you can do? Well, number one is to be open and transparent, which you have been doing. All right. So I commend you on that. But obviously you're saying, well, I feel a bit paranoid now because every time I'm being open and transparent, you seem to be coming down on us. But what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like I said, I would like you to be open and transparent because this is a relationship of a trust, especially since the circumstances relating to my mother. So that's what I would like you to do. I would like you to obviously write a letter of recommendation to Manningham Housing, say since they've contacted you, all right, they've contacted you. My understanding prior to this conversation was there'd be no communication between you and Manningham Housing. Now look at this, Chris. If you had listened to me and you had wrote a letter of recommendation, you would have wrote a letter of recommendation saying, look, I am Mr. Talib Hussein's care coordinator. I work for Bradford Council on the city mental health team, and I believe that it's important for Talib to be appropriately accommodated, and I feel those needs are being presently met by the where he's presently staying. So I support any application for tenancy. If you had done that, then they would have got your details, and so they would have then that communication. That would have been a legitimate way of doing things. Then if they contacted you, they would have only been responding to your letter. All right? So can you see that chain of communication? I am asking you to do something. All right? I am therefore, you're then doing something and writing the housing association. Therefore, the consent is implied. Therefore, the housing association are responding to your letter saying, well, in order to meet his needs, we are still considering whether we're going to let him stay in the house or give an alternative accommodation. But just for clarity, does he need a downstairs toilet? See, that's the right way to do things. But because you haven't written to them and they've contacted you, that opens up a can of worms. Because how have they contacted you? You didn't write to them. And under what legal, I take data protection very seriously. So, this is a data protection breach as far as I'm concerned. Or definitely, there's concerns there. Can you understand where the concerns lie?
Again, I say that I've got a duty of care. Shazad,
no, that's fair enough.
What you want me is to not contact GP, not contact housing, but to send letters to housing and things like that, but not... basically not contact them or check in any way. I'm employed as allocated as his care coordinator.
Look, Mr. Browell, with all due respect, I think you're taking things out of context here. What I've said to you is that I'm concerned how Manningham Housing, and I've told them this as well in the reply letter, I said, well, how have you been made aware of Talib's care needs? So that's what I want to find out. So, for example, how have Manningham... prior to you haven't contacted them, they've contacted you. So how have they been made aware of Talib's care needs?
When you say care needs, what do you mean?
Well, he requires a downstairs toilet. How do they? Why would that?
They talked with you about that.
Pardon?
I thought they would have talked with you about that.
Exactly, and they haven't done so. Can you understand why the red flag now lies? They have not talked to me about this. They should have no knowledge of my brother's care needs because my brother was not a tenant of theirs. My mother was.
But they they will also have a responsibility to make sure that Talib is safe.
Yeah, you're right. But once again, why have they contacted you regarding the downstairs toilet if they should? Where is that information come from? If I didn't give it to them.
I don't know.
Okay, and with regards to you saying that you the council have no collusion with the Manningham Housing Association, that is factually inaccurate, and this is one of the things I did. I'm reminding myself that one of the things I did ask you to look into is this: that in 2014. In February 2014, I told you I made some serious allegations to kill Talib, all right, in my care. He was then taken into hospital where your senior manager, Nadia Khan, Dr. Shaukat Ali, and social worker Deepak Patel were in hospital. And my brother was doing a mental capacity assessment report saying that, look, he has capacity, so we're going to discharge him back into our home where I had threatened to kill him. And then subsequently, the local authority had got in touch with the Manningham Housing Association, where Manningham Housing Association person came down, Nazneen, came down and said, we're looking to check up on Talib. Well, that clearly raised red flags to me. And I said, well, wait on a minute. I've made threats to Talib's GP. I've made threats. That matter's been escalated to the police. That I've then made threats to the city mental health team. There should be no communication between any of these parties with our housing association landlord. But yet our housing association landlord came down. So quite clearly and evidently they came down under instructions from yourselves as the council. All right? So they already come down. So when they did come down, I chose to take that as an opportunity to saying, well, number one, the city mental health team have concluded that my brother does have mental capacity because quite clearly they've discharged him from hospital into this house of 20 Primary Way where I've threatened to murder him. So because my brother said, look, I know he's not going to do that, so I want to be discharged back into 20 Primary Way. So the city mental health team were more than satisfied that he has mental capacity. So when the Manningham Housing Association, Nazneen, came over, I got my mum to sign and my mum and brother to give me power of attorney. All right? So they already have the power of attorney signed by my mum and my brother on their records. So quite clearly, irrespective of the lasting power of attorney registered with the Housing Association, in March, April 2014, there's quite clearly evidence to show that even you, the city mental health team, had concluded that he's got mental capacity so he can be discharged into my house or into my home or into my care where I'd threatened to murder him. All right. So you said he's got mental capacity to do that. So with that mental capacity, I got him to sign and my mum to sign a power of attorney letter, which I then registered with the Housing Association. There is quite clearly and evidentially a back channel of communication between the Housing Association and the council. All right, and I'm happy for this because if there is a unlawful back channel of communication, that strengthens my argument and case of how my mother's died. But coming back to this, I know you personally, Chris Browell, may have limited information, and you've been advised to say things or find out things or do things under instructions from
I haven't been advised to say things at all. It's just because you're calling. I think it's reasonable for us to talk every 3 or 4 weeks. But I haven't been advised to say anything to you.
Okay, all right.
Doing this off my own back.
Okay, all right. Well, fair enough. Well, I mean, like I said, if it's on your own back, you can say it's reasonable for. Do you have an issue with Talib being housed in this house?
I personally don't have an issue with that, but I also don't. I'm not sure whether it's my place to write a recommendation letter that he needs to stay there.
Okay, all right.
I see that as a housing matter.
Okay, but
that doesn't mean that I won't write a letter. I can find out if I should write a letter.
Okay, all right. But so if you're saying it's not your place, then quite clearly the first person you should speak to, which is not an external organization, but somebody you can just put that on this telephone and ring up, is somebody called Zaida Azam. All right? Okay. Zaida Azam is my brother's social worker back in 2003 and 2004 when we got this house. So why was she as a social worker writing a letter of recommendation to the Housing Association to support Talib being housed in this house when it was going to be my mother's tenancy?
that's a long time ago.
It doesn't matter.
And
It doesn't matter. You're on about your rights, yeah? You're saying it's not your place. So, you know, quite clearly, all I'm asking you to do is write a letter of recommendation. And you're saying that it's not your place. But I'm just trying to give you a reference point that in order to get this house, all right, I'm the one that's organized it all. I'm the one that's, you know, filling all the forms. You can understand my mum doesn't speak English or understand, read or write English. Neither does my brother Talib. I'm the one that's doing everything. And I can explain to you that one of the reasons that we got this house and he was discharged out of a Section 3 of the Mental Health Act, out into Section 117 in the community, is because of a letter of recommendation from Zaida Azam, whom is still employed by the council, whom you can ring up, who I've contacted previously regarding this letter, to confirm that she did write a letter of recommendation. All right? This house is adapted to meet Talib's needs. So, number one is like, why would you not write a letter of recommendation? Number two is that, what issue would you have with Talib being here, all right, considering that's fully adapted to meet all his needs? Particularly, you can understand, Mr. Browell, that Talib's needs are being met by me, so things should be helped, facilitate, assist me. Now, for example, if Talib is incontinent, we've got a shower facility, we've got a wet room here that meets all his needs. Now, I understand that there is an issue of undercrowding, or what is it, under occupancy. I understand that. Manningham Housing understand this, but I know my neighbours, they had many people when they got housed here. They had a big family, right? I think 4 daughters and a son. All those children are left. They all got married and left. The tenants, whose tenancy is still there. Now they're also under occupied. I know many other houses are under-occupied because, can you understand, at the time, they may be appropriate. Over time, it may become under-occupied because children grow up and get married. All right? And so there it becomes under-occupied. In our personal circumstances, people have died. Mums died, dads died. All right? So just because somebody dies or somebody matures and gets married and leaves the house becomes under-occupied, that puts us at a risk of losing our accommodation. That doesn't make any sense. So that, yes, there is an issue of under-occupancy. I understand this. That is an argument that can be made by the housing association, which I will look to challenge in a courtroom, because under-occupancy is not the primary only dimension, is it? My brother's lived here since 2005. He was discharged in the community under Section 117. All right. Since then, he was receiving direct payment support. He lived here with his mum. Do you think it's right that he should be moved? Personally,
I said that was his home for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. It's his home for a long time, and you know, they say that getting married and moving house are two of the most stressful things faced by many people. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they are very stressful.
So why would you want to place me and my brother in a further stressful situation following the stress?
I don't, Shazad. Like I said, it's Manningham Housing.
I know it's not. I know
if they would say that you're okay to stay there, I'd be fine with that. I haven't got a problem with that at all.
Would you put that in writing?
I can probably see if I can put that in writing.
Put it in writing.
Opinion on it, but it's not much of a thing to put in writing.
No, it is basically you're his care coordinator. Why? I mean, as his care coordinator, would you not want to look at his health and well-being? Yes, particularly his well-being.
Yeah, but when there's legal proceedings regarding housing, it's not really my place to get too involved in that. That's between yourselves and Manningham Housing.
But you know, the thing is, you say that officially, but unofficially, they're talking to you. You're talking to them. You understand?
I can provide advice whether he's in a wheelchair or needs a
sure.
bathroom.
Sure. But why are they?
That doesn't mean that I'm getting involved in any legal proceedings.
I'm not asking you about. But can you understand? You accepted that this is his home. All right, more than his house. He's lived here for such a long time. He's lived here with his mom. He's got appropriate accommodation, and the fact that I'm caring for him, and I'm telling you that this property is appropriate because he's got a wet room, and we're in this community. We've got good connections with neighbours. He's got friends with neighbours here. So you wanna uproot? Can you understand how anybody not just you as his care coordinator, but any impartial person, even a judge, if he's impartial, will look to see that. I say, well, wait on a minute. Do we really want to do that to somebody who's got mental health problems, where normal people being rehoused would be stressful? Why would we want to inflict that stress on somebody who's already got mental health problems, who's lost his mother, who he didn't get to see for the last year of her life? All right? Because the priority, the only thing that we need to focus in on is the under-occupancy. It's not just the only factor, is there? Yes, it's under-occupied, but it's appropriate to meet Talib's needs. And I was explaining to a friend of mine, I was saying the fact that, let's just say for argument's sake, that Manningham Housing Association turned around and said, you know what, we're not going to charge you £100, £200 rent. We're going to charge you £10,000 rent a week. If Manningham Housing, and I'm not saying they will do that, and I'm just giving you a theoretical example here. If Manningham Housing Association said that in order to accommodate Talib in this house, we're going to charge you £10,000. You and I both know, Mr. Browell, that you, the council, will have to foot that bill. All right? Under the fact that my brother's out in the community under Section 117 aftercare, and all his needs need to be met. So you're lucky that they're not asking for £10,000. You're lucky that they're asking socially acceptable rent, because irrespective of the amount that they're asking for, ultimately the person that's going to be paying is you, the council, and therefore you, the council, are saying if we're going to be paying, we're not paying for a 5-bedroom, we'd rather pay for a 2-bedroom, which is cheaper for us. But it doesn't matter. This is the whole point of the argument here, is that my brother has needs which are not being met. You recognize the fact that Eid has happened for over a year. He's not had access to his money. We're going to get onto that. Nothing's been resolved. He's not got access to many of the services that he requires and needs. All right, and nothing can move forward until you and I, or you and the council, come to accept and respect that fact that he has mental capacity. So just moving away from the housing situation, like, you know, it's a very difficult argument for the housing association to make in a courtroom following the council's instructions, because it's in your interest that, you know, Talib should be rehoused. So I would advise you personally as his care coordinator, and more importantly you, the council, to recommend that Talib remains here, because it's fit and meets his needs. If you don't want to make that recommendation, that further places you in a further legal predicament of prejudicing against us. And the argument simply being made that it's got nothing to do with us, it's all to do with Manningham Housing. I've quite clearly explained to you in this conversation that when I threatened to murder my brother, it is you, the council, or city mental health team, particularly Nadia Khan and Mark Truin, that got in touch with Manningham Housing and told them to do effectively a welfare check on Talib when Talib was not a tenant. And why? So quite clearly there's a very close connection between Bradford Council and Manningham Housing Association. That close association is no different from Bradford Council and Bradford District Care Trust, hence your city mental health team secondment to the team and being a social worker working for the council. So there's a very close connection that exists between the Bradford District Care Trust and the local authority, which I can evidence equally exists between the council and the housing association, where they are taking instructions and directions from you. Because I know this, because they now instigated legal proceedings wrongly, all right, and they should have talked to me about it. So nobody's looking to talk to me. Everybody's looking to pursue legal proceedings, and every day that goes by, my brother's suffering and my mother was suffering, and every day that goes by, I'm charging you, I've told you, the equivalent of £1 million a week. So nothing's really getting resolved, is it?
I agree, nothing's really getting resolved. Definitely not, Shazad. And I'm not happy about that, because nothing's moving forward and nothing's changing, nothing's getting better. It's better for anyone. It's not better for Talib either.
It's not getting better for Talib. And sorry to
Talib doesn't have access to his money, and at the end of the day, he's getting paid that money, you know, from DWP. So he should be able to have access to that money, and there doesn't seem to be any way to get access to it.
And can you understand how exhausting and exasperating and frustrating it's on me? because while he's not getting that money, he's not going without. I'm funding that. And you know what's really, really frustrating and vexating to me? These issues were live when he was discharged into my care in January 2019. They were live. They were discussed at the care coordinated meeting, which Baljit noted did not attend, but it's not going to be on his records, which you have in front of you. These were live issues that I told you to look into, that Dr. Samia said, look, there are a couple of things that I need. I need to have his housing situation sorted because he runs the risk of becoming homeless. In 2019, he became homeless. We were living on the couch of our sister's couch. This person can you understand? Look, I've obviously evidenced all this. If there were serious, grave concerns, he's developed bed sores. Those marks are still there. I've photographed them, all right? He's got bed sores because of sleeping on the couch. As you know, he suffers from incontinence. When you suffer from incontinence and you don't, it's not dealt with, there's something called overflow. Are you familiar with overflow?
I'm not, no.
Overflow basically means there's a lot of liquid comes out of your anal passage. Poo liquid, like diarrhea, but really watery, all right? And that tends to, have an effect. So he was living in a really sub conditions with our sister. She was accommodating us, but because you understand that was not a bedroom. He had no access to a toilet or a shower facility, all right? And he would become incontinent, and then there would be overflow, which meant the fact that he would soil all his clothes, all the bedding, everything, which would require me to, clean that up, all right, which is toxic waste, all right, and we had to sleep in there, all right, and the fact that he had no access to a shower facility, and the only way I could bathe him was to take him to the swimming pool, all right, because they had adapted, so he was in a really bad place while he was in Oldham, and I was with him, and now he's in a better place where he's got access. None of those issues are relevant. And the other thing as well, I'm not sure if you know about this, but when Talib was discharged, part of his care plan, as far as I'm concerned, is for him to go regularly swimming. Have you read that in his notes?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, I'm just going to remind you, because obviously I spoke to Baljit Note and Fungi that I used to take him regularly swimming. Now, I used to take him to Eccleshill swimming pool, but it was not appropriate. But there's another swimming pool in Bowling Back Lane. I'm not sure if you're familiar. There's a swimming pool there, but run by the council.
Is that like Fairfax?
No, not Fairfax, but you know where Bowling Back Lane is? So West Bowling is in West Bowling.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. There's a council.
Isn't that called Fairfax swimming pool? I might be wrong.
No, you might be right. I don't know what it's called. I think it might be called Fairfax. I'm not sure. But that swimming pool is specifically adapted to meet disabled people's needs. You know why? Because normal swimming pools are a bit cold, all right? And this swimming pool...
it's very warm. It's very warm. It's known for being very warm water.
That's right. That's right. And that's why it's... Yeah. So I was having to travel from Oldham, all right, to come to this swimming pool, all right? Because there was no appropriate swimming pool in Oldham. Me and my brother got registered with the sports centre there, the council-run sports centre, just so I could take him bathing there, all right? The swimming pool, it was too cold. So I would have to come to the Fairfax one in Bradford, me and Talib would have to travel all the way from Oldham to Bradford to come to this specially adapted one because it's got a higher temperature. I couldn't find the same one in Oldham. I think they've just, because of cutbacks and stuff. But then eventually, I don't know if you know this, that the Fairfax one has closed down for refurbishment. And obviously, I think when it opens up again, Talib will go back swimming again because that really is beneficial for Talib. And I, as his carer, can see the positive effects it has on him, swimming. Mm-hmm. All right. So obviously, the reason I mentioned this is that he was in really substandard conditions while he was in Oldham. He's now in good conditions, and you're like looking to put challenges and obstacles in the way, believing that you're going to stress me out. You know what is, Mr. Browell? I can manage a great deal of stress, all right? And I'm very good at stress management. Unfortunately, Talib or other vulnerable people are not, as I'm sure you're fully aware as a care coordinator for other people with mental health problems. Stress is a killer. And it can end up in people committing suicides. I don't need to tell you about that. And so similarly, stress management is a very important thing. Now, part of Talib's care plan, which I am now administering and executing, is that he should regularly go swimming, all right? He should have his own space. He should have a right to privacy. Can you imagine living in somebody's front room for a period of a year, where he's been doubly incontinent, not having access to toilet facilities, not having access to shower facilities, all right, and not having access to privacy.
Yeah.
Talib coming back to this house, I've seen and I've documented a dramatic increase in his well-being that was not being addressed by anybody beforehand. And when I mean documented, I've video recorded everything, all right? Obviously, I have a right to do so. It's not in the public domain, but it's quite clearly can be used as evidence that, you know, you, the local authority, have been very neglectful and allowed the situation to come like this. Now, let's just move on to the money situation. But before we move on to the money situation,
we need to go quickly. I need to get off the phone in the next couple of minutes. Sorry, Shazad, we've been on quite a long time. But yeah, regarding the money situation.
So with regards to that, before we move on to the money situation, I just wanted to quick mention the fact that, you know, there's a whole history and background. But, you know, if you go into Google and you type in social care crisis, you know, it's an evidential fact. I don't need to tell you that it's a fact that for the last number of years that the social care system's in a state of crisis.
Right, Shazad, I haven't got honestly, I really need to get off in about 5 minutes time.
Okay, well, I'll finish off with, so me and my family are victims of the social care crisis system. It's not me that's being abusive, financially exploiting people. It is the system that's broken, and me and my family are the victims, and the local authority are the victimizers. Now, with regards to his money, all right, what, you know, you tell me what solution you brought forward. So I'm going to stop talking. You just, I've galvanized this conversation. Now I'm going to stop talking. So you tell me what update you can do since we last spoke.
With regards to his money, I still think we need to try and provide Talib access to his money. I'm aware that we said that we'd try and drop some money off, and that Talib wouldn't accept that money. I still am being told that as a duty, that the council still has a duty to try and provide access to his money. I'm wondering, I'm still going to have to write a letter because it's in no way of harassment. It's just fulfilling that duty to at least allow Talib that offer of having access to his money. I'm wondering if the offer of money was a more significant amount, would that make any difference? Because we want to make sure that Talib's got food, that he's got gas and electric. I'm aware that it's putting you under financial stress, and is there any way that we can arrange for Talib that he would be accepting of his money?
Okay, well, just hold on a second. I mean, I'm very, very disappointed in what you're telling me. What resolution did I put forward?
So you asked me to say that will the council recognise the independent mental capacity assessment that from August 2021? It's something that I will be speaking about when I get the opportunity regarding that, but it's not something that I can just kind of... not a flippant question that I can ask.
Okay, all right, well, fair enough, but that's not what... I told you an avenue to get Talib his money. What was that avenue, if you remember?
Was it for a letter to be written recognising that...
No.
To go to the DWP and then they'd pay that money.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So you've just asked me the question that if we provide you with a significant amount of money, all right, well, the significant amount of money would be any and all money that you have in your possession, all right, and even then I'm not or any and all money that you have that belongs to Talib, all right, should be handed over to him. Those are the only conditions. All right. So not just like, we're going to give you £5,000 because of you. I spent over £5,000 taking him to Pakistan. All right. That's not been repaid back to me. All right. So again,
this I'm asking that as I'm just trying to find a solution.
Okay. The solution.
To you. I'm just thinking. Is there any? I'm just trying to think outside the box.
Okay. All right. Okay. What I'm gonna say to you, and I'm just conscious that you've given me your time. We're gonna end this conversation. What I'm advising you to relate to the council is this: return any and all money that you are presently holding for Talib, which is accumulated over the several years, and any other money that you're holding to Talib. Return any other money that if you're not handing it to Talib, return it to DWP, all right, and remove yourself as his DWP appointees, all right? Because that is obviously not gonna. You can't act as his appointee when you're not giving him his money and we're refusing to accept it. So that's the only avenue that's open to you, is that you should not have this money, because I would like to remind the council that what have I been criminally convicted of? What has the council, not the Crown prosecution, but what has the council convicted me of by not giving unfettered access to Talib his money? So you've convicted me of a crime that you now are committing. I think this is a very pertinent point, Mr. Browell, that I would like you to emphasize to the council, is this, that you are now presently committing a criminal offence. And that criminal offence is R versus Shajjad Hussain, which you, the council, have committed, you have established in law, which is the fact that in order, Talib and my mum should have unfettered access to their benefit money. You are not giving them unfettered access to their benefit money. You are putting conditions in place, and that is obviously unlawful. And so every day, I'm quite happy. Every day I know the council is committing a criminal crime. All right, it's committing a criminal act of a crime, what I've been convicted of. So I would recommend that every day that goes by, there's liability that's been created, that you should act to resolve this matter without delay, to get any and all money that you hold of Talib back to him, in one way or another. If there's any excessive amount, I need a letter stating that this is all the money that we've collected, an audit of all the money that you're going to be handing over, all of it, not just some arbitrary amount, all of the money that you're handing over, and also any further money that you're accumulating, you should put a stop to it from the DWP and ask them to give Talib the money directly. Does that clarify the situation?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so when can we speak next?
So, let me see, there we are. Let me just check. If I give you a call on the 25th of May, is that okay?
We're on the 10th today. You're on about 2 weeks later.
Yeah, that'd be the usual kind of.
No. You know, I think there's some sort of confusion here. This is in your interest. You've decided that that's going to be usual and that you want to check in on every 2 weeks to monitor the situation. I'm telling you, the situation presently is that I need answers to these questions. I need to know regarding his money. So we now have to wait a further over 2 weeks to know the fact that if he's what they've said. Why can't you get back to me towards the end of the week regarding the questions I've put forward? Because you've already had 2 weeks to look into this and you've not come back with any answers. Is the council willing to recognise the mental capacity report? Are you willing to write to the housing association? And are you willing to return Talib's money to him in recognition that he has his own mental capacity? I think this is, with all due respect, Mr. Browell, I think this is being slightly disingenuous here. On the one hand, you're saying we're looking into Talib's interest. You're not giving us any answers. You're not moving the matter forward.
I think, yeah, it's not as easy for me to just have a conversation with someone and get you answers to this, Shazad.
So, okay, well,
I can try, but it takes time, unfortunately.
You know what is, Chris? I think, with all due respect, and I think you're a lovely fella, and we've had good chats over time, yeah? But the reality is this, that I don't think you're the right person I need to be speaking to.
Yeah.
I don't think you're the right person, because obviously you're telling me your job is a care coordinator. You can't do that considering the vexation. And that's another thing. The vexatious policy says that you can't talk to me and all sorts of other restrictions. I think basically you should just... And why do you think Fungi and Bali have left the situation and everybody else keeps on leaving the situation? It's not something that... With all due respect, you're trying to do your job and you're not able to do your job. And by blaming me, that's not the answer. The reality is that the problem here that we've got is that you're not the right person I need to be speaking to.
Okay.
So what I would like you to do is I would like to take a note of all these things and escalate the matter, saying that, look, you cannot help the situation. Other than what you're doing is you're saying monitoring, I'm saying surveillance. All right. And, obviously, you're not resolving, nothing's getting resolved. All right. In 2 weeks' time, is Talib going to get his money resolved? Is his housing situation going to get resolved? Are you going to write back in 2 weeks' time saying, oh, no, actually, I'm not going to write the letter now? All right. Nothing's getting resolved.
Because there's ongoing legal proceedings that I don't have the knowledge of. I can ask something, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'll get an answer on it because there's already proceedings in place.
You know what is?
Those would be the ways that you
know what is? You know what is?
Questions.
You know what is? You know what is?
I can try and ask I can ask the questions. It doesn't mean I'll get an answer.
Okay, Chris. But you know the problem here is that you're being managed by Vicina Brown. That's correct, yes?
Yes.
Vicina Brown is being managed by Nadia Khan. That's correct, yes?
Okay, yeah.
And Nadia Khan is being managed by the Health and Wellbeing Director, Ian McKinnon, I think. Or Ian, is it Ian McKinnon?
Right, I'm not sure. I'm not sure
All right.
about that.
So ideally, obviously, Vicina Brown doesn't want to speak to me. They've had plenty of opportunity to speak to me. Nadia Khan doesn't want to speak to me. Can you say the fact that escalate it up the chain that I would like to speak to the Health and Wellbeing Director directly regarding this matter? Because ultimately, he or Kirsten England, the CEO, are held accountable for why my brother's not receiving his money. All right. My brother's refused because you should not be dealing with his money. The reason that you're dealing with his money is because of a fraud and the fact that you criminally convicted me for a crime that you're now committing yourself. So I think, with all due respect, Mr. Browell, I think 2 weeks, you can ring me up in 2 weeks and we can have a bit of a chat. But this does not resolve anything. And I will accommodate your chat, but I don't think all you're going to say is, how you doing? And I'm going to shut down and say, look, we're doing fine. Leave us alone.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
because obviously you're not resolving anything.
I don't think it's in my power to resolve.
Yes.
You know, and if I could ask the right questions and resolve it, then that would be great. But I don't see how it is in my power to resolve.
I know.
And if I could find a solution, I will do.
I know. But I think you've hit the key term there. It's not in your power. And I mean, obviously, I'm speaking to the wrong person. I want to speak to you. I want to speak to the person whose power it is. I want to speak to the decision maker. All right, because the decision, ultimately, when this goes to court, when this goes public, you won't be held accountable. All right, because you're just doing your job. The senior staff members are going to be held accountable for what they're doing, allowing my brother to suffer like this without any finances. Access to finances, access to housing. I mean, just for a moment, before we end the conversation, look what you've done to this poor fella. All right. You've taken all away his money. You've taken away his mum. You're now taking away his housing. All right? And you're meant to be looking after him. I think any reasonable person in Talib's situation would like to kill themselves. Because you're not leaving them with anything. He's got mental health problems. And you've taken away his mother. You've taken away his housing. You've taken away his money. All right? And you're trying to victimize his carer. You know what you're playing at? Not you personally, but the situation is not resolving itself.
Yeah. So I'll call on the 25th, Shazad. If I can get you any answers to those questions, I will do. Yeah?
Okay, but in the meantime, what I would like you to do is I would like you to escalate this matter, saying, look, I will. When you ring on the 25th, all I'm going to say is everything's fine. I'm not going to speak to you.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just going to come. Everything's fine. I'm not going to be open and you can have a very short conversation. And we'll do what you want to do. You want to monitor us, innit? You want to monitor that there's no crisis, so you can intervene and take a charge of the situation. And
I just want to show that I'm doing my job. I've got to show that I'm doing my job while I'm care coordinator.
But you're prevented from doing your job because of the council's legal proceedings. It's not me that's preventing you. You can understand. You yourself admitted that, look, you can't do certain things because of the legal proceeding. So I should only speak to the legal people then. I shouldn't be speaking to you because you don't have the power. All right, you're trying to do you're basically trying to do a job that's already been sabotaged. All right, and then you're getting frustrated at me saying I'm being objectionable. And the reality is that, look, I'm telling you, I'm a victim.
I haven't said that.
I know you haven't, but I know you didn't say that.
I need to get off the phone, Shazad.
Yeah, okay. I know you didn't say that, but you can understand that I'm the easy target here because I'm the victim of the broken social care system. So it's easy to blame me and victimize me when the reality is that your position has been compromised and sabotaged because of the actions taken by the council, which the net result is that my brother's losing out on his rights and is suffering as a consequence of the actions that you, the local authority, have taken. I'll take your call next on the 25th. But like I said, in the meantime, I'm going to be pursuing this. I would like you to ask the senior people to speak to me regarding have the power to change the situation, because every day that goes by is a day that you, the local authority, are doing a criminal act. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Shazad.
All right, thank you for your call. Goodbye.
Thanks, bye.